I want to do this third video on our terminology about reader's point of view, or RPOV, or RPOV, which is a horrible name for a word, and I'm not really going to ever, you know, use that a lot. But the abbreviation RPOV is really helpful when you're typing away and doing schematics or sketching something out. So RPOV, what is it and what are all the different types it can take? That's the purpose here. And, again, a good number of these terms are terms that are already in use. But there'll be a few that I've sort of coined and I found helpful in my own experiences. And, I have to admit, I tend to overanalyze things, especially at the beginning. And what will happen is that the terminology that we find really useful and will rise to the top. It'll self-identify itself, and we'll keep on using those terms. And then the over-the-top stuff that isn't really practical in the long run will slowly slip away, and we'll let it go. But at the beginning, I think it's good just to try to get a grammar down and have words in common amongst us that we can use just to discuss these things intelligently and clearly. So I'm going to go ahead and switch the view now and look at a great book that illustrates reader's point of view in an incredible way. So this is the Church Mouse series. This one is The Church Mice in Action by Graham Oakley. And I think I would consider my life a happy one if I could write even one of these books. I have it sitting at this angle like this because it really is better this way in terms of lighting and the way the camera is capturing it. And it's on a stack of books there. And I needed to put a towel down here so it wouldn't slide on the table. And I picked one that was hanging on our stove, and lo and behold, it's very apt, right? I think at the end of the day, if someone were to ask me, why do you want to do this? And I think I would just say, it's a way of working with joy. And the more you reach out and touch joy, the more it rubs off on you, and it adds to your life experience. And it just reminds you how beautiful God's world is, even in something in like a picture book. So let's go ahead and look through this. I'll look through quite a few pages, but then eventually I'll just go ahead and skip some. All right. So we are looking at this full page illustration here, full page picture. And you have a foreground and a background, and we'll definitely be using those terms. Notice that the background is actually the focus here, which is interesting. The foreground is just to give you perspective. And you have just this wide angle here. So, the normal term would be panoramic or pan. So sometimes, we will refer to this sort of picture as a pan, but I would kind of go a little more simpler and just say this is far. Because you're positioned at a far distance. So in terms of distance, let's go ahead and call this far because you see a lot, and you get to feel like you're a bit away from the scene, a good bit away. And actually, you're looking down. You can see how you're looking down. That's not just the angle of my phone. My phone is actually parallel. Excuse me for that blackout there, but my phone is parallel to the angle page of the book, to the page of the plane of the page. So Oakley here is positioning you sort of at a higher angle, and you're looking down. So this would be down and far. Down in terms of angle and far in terms of distance. And usually far means panoramic, right? But not always. For example, here, especially this one here, we are a good distance away, aren't we? Now, for both of these, this one especially, the angle is not really down and not really up. It's kind of right in the middle. So let's call this level angle. This is a level angle. And level is, the notion is your eyes are sort of level with the eyes of the character. And you're not on the ground. You're standing up, if you will. And so this would be level angle, and I would also consider this far, but not panoramic. Notice that Oakley is really making a good use of every bit of the page that the publisher gave him. And notice that as we go forward, how Oakley just really partitions off the page and gives you sort of a comic feel to it, but in wonderful detail. Now, for this one right here, you are kind of angled a little bit down. You know, you can kind of tell if you as a reader were in this landscape, you would actually be up on maybe some steps or on a little bit of a hill, because you can tell that angle is going down. Not so much with this one, I don't think, but yes with this. So this would be far down. Now this is an interesting picture. And this is actually a rare picture, because this is what I want to call a bottom up. If you were to lie down flat on the ground and look straight up, that is what we're going to call a bottom up picture. Okay, and so the angle looking upward is like a 90-degree angle in relation to the plane of the ground. And surprisingly enough, this is a hard angle to find and to draw, and I think Oakley does a wonderful job here. You're viewing this lady as if you were the cat, and then you get a switch up and you're far and down. You see that? But again, this is not necessarily panoramic. So the word far doesn't always denote a panoramic horizontal spread. Sometimes it does, but it's putting distance between you and the characters, and you're angled down. So far and down. And here's an example of how Oakley will use the page. He's given you 6 illustrations here. And for this one, the poor cat is getting a bath, as you can see. You are slightly angled down. See that? Because you're above the cat just a little bit. And the distance I would say here is regular. Now what in the world do I mean by that, right? You can have a close-up, which I would consider that to be, and I would actually consider that to be a close-up. And then you can have a zoom out, a far away picture. This is also, I would consider this a close-up. But here, it's not really too far away. It's not really too close up. So this may be a little bit awkward, and let's see if we can use this term. Let's just call this regular distance. Regular. And I think the best way to think about this is a range of maybe anything that's 2 feet to 8 or 10 feet from you. Put yourself maybe in a bedroom or a middle-sized room of a house, and you can sense the space. You can sense the proportion of things in that space, and you're not too close to things. You're not too far away. Someone that's maybe 3 feet away from you has that sense of distance, and also someone maybe up against the back wall of that room would also feel somewhat in your personal space. So I would say that would be regular distance. But here you are level. You see how you're sort of level with the cat? Now on that one. And here you're angled down. These again I would call regular distance. Definitely angled down here. And then here, now this is interesting. You see how he switches on you? You go angled down and then you go angled up. It's as if you're lower than the cat now looking up. You have an angle up and you have a close up. You're closer here than you are right over here. So you are getting a range of spatial experience, and you might not actually be recognizing that as you read this, but that is what makes this book feel so much more sophisticated and complicated than other books. And here you have a very good use of the foreground and also good use of the background. You have this range of vision that Oakley is giving you in 1/6 of the page. So incredible. Now, this is kind of tricky because it's ground level, but you're not necessarily right at the level of the mice. You're still kind of looking down at them. So I would say this is an angle down close up, right? And you definitely do see all this detail. So and again, juxtaposing those 6 smaller illustrations with this one really pleasures the mind, and just the variety that you are getting as a reading experience. All right, so this is definitely angled down close, but this is far level. I'm going to say this is level because it's as if you're standing on the street, and the scene is bordered by the 2 doors, the door of the car and the door of the building, and you see all this detail. So this is far, truly a panoramic scene, and level. Far and level, but this is angled down close. Again, you are higher than the scene looking down upon it. So this is angled down and close. And we have another, I would say this is regular distance level. Regular distance level. It's as if you're standing up in the room. Maybe a slight angle up, I suppose. We don't want to get too technical on these things. Okay, now this is definitely close up and level. Your face, your eyes are at the level of the eyes of the character, see? So this we would call close and level. However, this is far, sorry for the bit of the glare there, but far and down. Far in terms of how far away are you if you were actually there in that scene, right? You would be tucked away at the top corner of the room somewhere, right? Looking down upon it all. So it's far and down. And the reason, again, I want us to be familiar with these terms is that when you get a schematic, the author, or maybe me, the agent, or whatever, the editor might say, hey, would you consider a far down, angle, and or a far down illustration? And that's kind of what we mean. You're looking down and you're far away. Now this is down close, or perhaps regular, I suppose. This is definitely close because you can read all of this. I would not say either of these is far, but you're definitely looking down. And here you're sort of maybe just a little bit looking up, but again, I would say this is regular distance, not far, not close. All right. Now this is another interesting illustration. This is on the table, and you're looking straight down on it. So this we'll call a top down. Again, top down is as if you're hovering directly above the scene and you're looking straight down on it. A top down picture is very useful to, say, show the outline of a city block, or maybe the ship is in the ocean and you're a bird sailing above it and you're looking straight down on the ship. That's a top down. And remember the oh, here we go. Now I'm going to try to find it. The bottom up scene. Here it is. Bottom up, top down, and again those angles are 90 degrees down, 90 degrees up. All right, let's go ahead and see if there's anything of note here. I'll go ahead and skip these. These are both, I would say, angle down regular distance. Still, here I would say angle, this would be level angle. You see how if you were standing there, you would kind of be at the level with them, or maybe a little bit up, but not enough to really call it an angle up shot, and regular distance. However, these are closing in, right? So this is close, and for close up, and this is a great angle up shot. Unfortunately, you have that part of the human anatomy being highlighted, but nonetheless, this is just a beautiful shot. You're seeing that angle, you're enjoying the experience of the roundabout, jostling, bouncing nature of the bike. Now this is interesting too. This is not necessarily close, it's not far away, but yet you get 6 scenes in here, don't you? And all of these I would consider level in terms of angle. So, again, we're characterizing this in terms of angle and distance. I would call this angle up, regular. And, oh, the glare is something there. These I would basically say maybe level, that one, and regular distance, kind of getting to the far point, but not really. Now this is beautiful. This is what I'm going to call a ground level. Now, it's level because you're not really angled up or angled down. And it's ground because it's on the level of the ground. And this is one of the idiosyncratic terms I want to introduce here. I think it'll serve our purpose well. If you can imagine yourself lying on the ground with your chin, on the ground and your eyes looking straight ahead, what would you see? And I want to introduce that as sort of a category of gaze. And so I would call this the ground gaze, where you're just looking level with that ground, and this is what you see. And I think that's good for us because there's going to be so many ways to utilize that. And of course, when you're sitting, standing, whatever, you also have a level gaze, but it's not on the ground level. So let's go ahead and call that just level or standing level, and standing would be that broad category where it's just not the ground. And that does raise the question of, well, what happens if you're in the air? I mean, what if you're on the top of the roof and you're looking out across the city? Well, I don't want to really call that a sky level. There's really not too many scenes like that, although, of course, there are some. I just feel much more comfortable with the ground gaze and then the level ground level, and then regular level, or just standing level, if you will. Now, see, now this is giving you a ground gaze, ground level, a ground level. You can tell if you were there. Sorry for my phone zipping in and out there, but you know your chin would be on the ground. You're looking straight ahead, and this is what you would see. See, and I think that's important for children's imagination. You know, the child is going to be flat on the floor of the house doing things much more than they're going to be at, you know, on the top of their roof doing things. So the ground gaze is something a child can really relate to. Now this would be, you know, you got me here. I think this would be maybe ground up. Maybe I would just call it angle up, you know, because again, I'm kind of suggesting that the ground gaze is you being flat on your belly on the ground, and your eyes are looking straight ahead with the chin, you know, resting on the ground. This is definitely angle up. I know it's from the ground perspective, but it's angle up panoramic, or angle up far, I guess I should say. And this is definitely a far panoramic scene, angle up from the ground level. I just want to point out one thing based on our earlier film and some of the earlier films. You know, this is called we would call this a third page picture because it's 1/3 of the page. But notice how strictly it is 1/3. I mean, he's literally taking that whole third strip and integrating it as a picture, because the picture has its own defined borders, and he uses all the way to the edge of the page. So he's using every inch of the page here. And here we have our third third page illustration, because it's 1/3 of a page. And you know, some of the earlier books we looked at in those earlier clips, you know, would have floating, maybe floaters in the pages. But he's really literally cutting that page into third strips. Now this again, I would say this is far, and I would say this is a level gaze. You're standing up here too. You know, if you were standing up at this distance, this is what it would look like. So I would say this is level, far, in terms of the type of gaze, the type of perspective. This would be level as well, and far. But this would be close and, almost top down. I think there's a little bit of an angle coming in here, so it would be very steep angle down picture, but close up. And this is definitely angle down close. And notice how the angle has kind of flattened out just a little bit, right? You're not looking straight down. Here you're almost looking straight down, but you're being placed on the perimeter of the fire by Oakley. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to actually skip those two, and let's look at this one. All right, so this I would generally consider a ground picture. Your regular distance. But, you know, again, you're flat on the ground looking straight ahead, and you don't really have an angle up or an angle down, right? So I would say this is ground regular because of the distance, regular distance. But here you do have an angle down. You know, you're moved back a little bit in the scene, and you're looking down. So this would be, I would consider this far down. And here this would be down. You can tell you're looking down on the scene. I don't know, I guess I would call that regular distance, down regular. And this is interesting. So they're poking around on the ground trying to find the cat, and lo and behold, they poke a hornet's nest. Now, I mean, this is literally the ground, isn't it? But I wouldn't necessarily call this a ground shot. I would call this angle down close. It's as if you're on your knees looking down upon this close up. You're not flat on your belly looking straight ahead on the ground. So I would say this is down and, you know, down close, angle down close. Yeah, you know, now I'm getting interested in the book. This one right here is going to be a little bit of an angle down close. Again, you can see how your gaze is positioned above, looking a little bit at an angle down on the box, but close enough to try to read what the mice have written. But then Oakley takes you right back out, gives you regular distance and level. You are level with these readers. If you were standing on that path, this is what they would look at like if they were coming right at you. So the cat finally makes it home, and this is a beautiful, beautiful page. You are ground level here. If you were flat on the ground looking straight ahead, this is what you would see. You have all this space. Notice how he dedicates most of the page just to that top space. The characters are here. You have the foreground, big, nice character there, and you have multiple smaller characters here. There's a wonderful balance there. And close, far. The lightness of that middle space illustrated by the leaves. Think of the decisions of artistry that were made here. Could he have removed the leaves completely? Yes, absolutely. Could he have removed the bucket? Would we have missed it? I don't know. I mean, that's a very hard question to ask. But now that the leaves are there, you can feel the wind coming through. You can feel the space, the light. It's beautiful. Hats off to Graham Oakley.